Hello, welcome to Burning Questions, a special edition here. It's Casey Classic weekend at Melton on Saturday night. We've gone quality over quantity in terms of our panelists, just the two. And the first of those is Bronte Nieuwenburg. Thanks for joining us, Bronte. And you're going to be part of the coverage on Sky Racing and at trotsvision.com today. You on Saturday night. How are you feeling?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Tim. I'm actually quite excited for the coverage. There's a bit of a Queensland flair there with Brittany Graham and Leap to Fame and myself. So it's going to be quite a good night of racing, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Maybe we should bring Chris Barsby down to call. What do you reckon? I reckon Dan, I don't know if Dan'd stand aside for that, but we could try.
We could have got him in Burning Questions this week, Tim.
Yeah, well, I was on his radio show, so he probably owes me one now. Greg Sugars joins us. First time for a long time, Greg, and nice to have you back in the country because you've been overseas for, the back end of 2024.
Yeah, that's right. No, I've had a bit of travelling under my belt over the last sort of 12 months or so, and it's good to be settled back in at home.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, thanks for joining us. Let's get stuck right into it. We've got plenty to discuss. Pride's Easy Feed stand as a proud supporter of the harness racing industry with their set recipes and quality ingredients to give the trainer confidence in what they're feeding. So make the switch to Pride's and start getting the result you've been chasing. Burning questions usually means it's a question, but this is not really a question. This is just a time to reflect. The time has finally come, so let's reflect on what Harry has done. I'll leave you to last here, Greg. We've talked about him for months and months and years. So everybody who has any interest in harness racing knows his record and what he's done and all the big races that he's taken out. But Bronte, maybe some reflections from you. And also, you got up close and personal with him yesterday. That would have been exciting.
Yeah, I think the one thing for me is growing up, I always heard my dad say how the impact that a horse like Mary's Idol made on him and how he loved the sport. And I remember growing up thinking, like, I wish we had a trotter like that of our generation that, in 60 years' time, 100 years' time, whatever it is, we're still going to be talking about this horse. And I just feel so privileged and grateful that I'm the age that I am in the generation that was Just Believe, because he was life-changing for so many people in this sport, and also just people that maybe have got into the sport because of him. And yeah, I did see him yesterday. I went out to Everyday Farms, which Greg can touch on, but I just have to say that a massive testament to Greg and Jess, because the horse looked $1 million. Those dapples you could see from like 100 meters away. He is the most spectacular, healthy, beautiful looking animal, and no matter where he ends up or what his future looks like in retirement, we're all just so happy for what he's achieved. And Greg and Jess, that's just fantastic what you've done.
Yeah, well done, Greg. I'm sure you've had hundreds of text messages, but it can't be understated the job you guys have done with this horse to, and he's retired on basically a high. Like he's retired, basically at the top of his game. One thing that struck me, Greg, every time either I interviewed you or many others interviewed you, you always talked about savouring the moment because the day would finally come when he's not racing. That day's finally come. Was it hard to make the decision? Is it hard to think about it now? I'd love your thoughts on Just Believe.
Yeah, no, thank you both for your kind words there. Yeah, really appreciate it. Obviously, it goes without saying that, he's been such a special horse to Jess and myself and all the connections, and we're so proud and privileged that we've been able to share him with so many people and worldwide basically, which just still seems a bit surreal to try and get your head around that he's given us sort of global recognition. And just as such a special horse. And yeah, we like everything, nothing lasts forever, especially in the racing game. You're only on top for so long, and we're always sort of prepared that, one day he either wasn't going to be, the number one seed in the main races or something could potentially go wrong, which can often happen with racehorses of that caliber. And, so we always were trying to really enjoy every win and every moment with him. And he certainly gave us a lot of special moments along the way. And, the way it's all ended up, to make that final decision to pull the pin. It was hard on one hand and not so hard on the other. You obviously don't want the ride to end when you've had so much success and so much fun with a horse like him, and a horse that was still, quite dominant in his racing. So that was hard to sort of admit that you're at that stage where you sort of got to make a tough decision. But on the other hand, he's been such a special horse to us all. He did have some niggling issues, and it's probably good to sort of come on air and people need to realise that he hasn't broken down as such. He was dealing with some niggling injuries or niggling problems, which are quite common for horses of his age, and he's been dealing with them for quite some time now. And it just got to a point where we thought the horse has done enough and has dealt with it for long enough that we would never forgive ourselves if we pressed on longer than what we should have, and it did turn into a serious injury, because that's definitely one thing that no horse deserves that, but especially a horse that's been so good to everyone involved. No one wanted to see that, and it wouldn't have been any good for the sport either. So from that point of view, we were comfortable with the decision made by the ownership group in consultation with a lot of people to reward the horse for the job well done.
Greg, there's so many moments. I'd love if you could try, I haven't given you much time to think about this, but if you could isolate one memory that sits above all others. For me, just the experience, you guys, it was just amazing to see you and Jess walk out in front of that crowd at Solvala when he competed over there. And I know that wasn't really the horse, but it was all because of him. Where does that moment sit? And have you got a few ahead of it?
Yeah, that was just such a special moment that we never thought we'd ever experience anything like that, and we probably never will again, being realistic. But that was certainly something that we'd never forget and would be extremely hard to top. But as far as racetrack appearances go, I think the Inter-Dominion in Melbourne really holds a special place in our heart, just given the way that he won it, and it was his first real step into that elite level racing, that where he really stood up and was counted, and come from a seemingly impossible position or possible barrier draw, and wasn't highly fancied to win that race. And so to do that in a home crowd with so many friends and family around, it was such a special moment. But I think his win in New Zealand in the Tab Trot was probably as good a win as he ever put up, sitting parked all the way around Cambridge, which is not easy to do. And the calibre of that field was probably as strong a race as he ever competed in, outside of Sweden. So, that performance probably really stands out as my mind as one of his greatest wins.
Greg, yeah, I love a salute, and you're not a massive saluter, but I can recall three really good ones with Just Believe. The Inter-Dominion at Melbourne, I don't reckon you thought you were going to win there at about the 50-metre mark. And then you really let loose down the around the corner. The Great Southern Star, just a little fist pump over the line. But the one in Queensland, the Inter-Dominion, I don't reckon you'll ever salute as early again. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're right. They were three pretty good ones, all for sort of different reasons. And that Inter-Dominion was just pure emotion there, right on the line. It's funny, like I always had faith in the horse. He just felt like he was always going to get there, even though it took him, pretty much the whole straight to wear down Majestuoso. And when he poked his little head in front, that was just a moment of sheer joy. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, so many great memories. Some great replays to look back on over the years. One more question, looking ahead, where will he end up? He's obviously recovering now, but where will he be long term? Will he be back with you guys, or is there a home for him somewhere else?
Yeah, it's still up in the air, I think, a little bit. Obviously, he returns to the care of Pat Driscoll at Yabby Dam Farm as the owner of the horse, and ultimately the decision is his as to Harry's future. But there has been talk of trying to get him into Living Legends, if that is possibly an option. So that would be pretty cool if he did take a spot there alongside a Sundon's Gift, and they can swap war stories together. But not sure exactly. But if that doesn't eventuate, we would love to have him back here. He'd have a home for life with us if that was possible. But other than that, I'm sure Pat will have him very well looked after at Yabby Dam Farms. But for the short term, he is recovering. And it's probably another thing to mention out to the public that, like I said, the horse, he hasn't broken down as such, that can assure everyone that all precautions have been taken place to give him the best possible retirement. And he did undergo on Monday early this week a very minor procedure on his two front legs. He had a screw inserted in both of those, which was it's basically a precaution. It wasn't 100% necessary that the horse had to have that, but it was after consultation with a number of people, they all decided it was the best possible outcome for the horse to ensure that nothing could go wrong in the future. So rest assured that he's in very good hands, and he's had all care taken to ensure the horse has the safest and happiest retirement possible.
Yeah, well done. And Bronte gave him a few carrots too, or some licorice, I think, as well, if you don't mind. That was, she took some supplies. Yeah. And Greg, just before we move on from Just Believe, thanks for your and Jess's time with the media too, because it's not easy, but I know you probably, well, I think you did feel some sort of obligation to bring him to the public and almost never say no to an interview. So I think I'm right in saying that was probably your policy right the way through.
Yeah, we try to be as open as what we can, even though, like, sometimes, we really didn't want to talk about certain subjects along the way. There's always pros and cons to anything in life, I suppose, and having a horse like him is obviously a massive tick in the pro column, but there is a negative to it. Sometimes there was a hell of a lot of focus and pressure on us, and obviously we're not a one horse stable, and he wasn't the only one we were worried about at the time. So it was tough, but we were more than happy to share him when we could.
I think a few of the people in Sweden were wondering why you were going home, weren't they? And you said, "Oh, hang on, I've got about another 40 or 50 of these horses to worry about." Yeah. No, well done. Thanks, Greg. Let's try and find a couple of winners on Saturday nights. Let's talk about race 3. It's a Caduceus Classic. Logical Staffing Solutions provide labour hire and recruitment services to the transport, warehousing, automotive and manufacturing industries. A logical solution for your staffing needs. He's unbeaten from 4, so will always hot keep the foot to the floor. Greg, you're driving Always Hot for Emma Stewart, race 3, number 6. Just you, Bronte, quickly. Very short price favourite here, I think $1.35 in the market. I've tipped it on top, but I'm worried about 40 Love. Drawn a bit better. I think Aaron Dunn was on radio today saying he's pretty keen to go forward and try and hold the top. Are you with the favourite, or are you a little concerned first up from a break?
I have him on top, just like you, Tim. Always Hot. My concerns are there. Every single race he's been in, I've always been concerned about his ability to come from behind, because he always manages to find the front under any circumstance in his career so far. And he's got Soho, the Real Deal, and 40 Love inside him, who are two horses that probably don't want to give him the lead. And that's just a whole new ball game for Always Hot. I think he's the best horse in the race, but he's going to have to be. We're going to have to see how good he is. And then obviously if there's speed on, my bet in the race would obviously be on Galaxy Lass, the one for Everin John Justice. I've liked this filly since she started racing, and we saw how good she was last start when she was safe for one run. So I think that's where my play would be with Galaxy Lass. But I do think that Always Hot's the best horse in the race.
Yeah, I think he is, Greg. Yeah, you drove him to Group 1 Glory in a Vicbred final. He was really the benchmark last season. I did catch his trial. I know it was off no speed at all, but he ripped home in like 25.9. Only good horses can go that fast. What are your thoughts? It's not an easy speed, Matt. My gut feel would be maybe that they might take a sit on Soho, the Real Deal, because he's led and been run down a couple of times. But there's plenty of scenarios. Are you confident at $1.35?
Oh, yeah, I have the utmost respect for this horse. Loved him from day one, the first time I saw him and sat behind him last year. And, he was a bit of a big green, sort of awkward sort of 2-year-old, but you could just tell right from day one that he had a hell of a motor about him. So he's only going to be further improved from obviously last year's preparation. And I suppose if he is going to be vulnerable, you would say that first up is it, but he's in the right camp to have him ready to go, or near enough to it. for a first up assignment. And as you say, yeah, that the trial was very impressive what he did late, off moderate sectionals early, but I'm sure he wouldn't be there if the camp didn't think he was pretty close to where they need him to be. So certainly going into the race very confident.
Good stuff. Good push there for Always Hot. Get ready for the ultimate harness racing opportunity at the 2025 APG Yearling Sales, featuring progeny from Australia's top stallions and the best odds on a race series worth $100,000. Don't miss your chance to invest in a champion. Find all the details at apgold.com.au. At APG, there's a horse for everyone. Most expect Larry to get it done, but is there any way a rival can spoil his fun? Larry is leap to fame. He goes around in the KC Classic as $1.15 favourite at the moment. Race 4, number 3. Bronte, you know plenty about leap to fame. I think your parents' property's right next to his, so you get to see him potentially a bit more than most. He couldn't possibly get beaten here, could he?
No, I something would have to go wrong, I think, for him to not win this race. But, I think the only thing is if a horse drawn outside and tries to cross him early. I mean, and I think that horse could only be Tack McLeod. We don't really know exactly how good his gate speed is with his exposed Australian form. It's good. It's very good so far, but it could be even better. So I do think that Tack McLeod, if he wants to, he could try to press it early, but even then, he's not going to be able to park leap to fame if he gets in front of him. So I can't see a scenario where he gets beat.
No, I can't either. If to try and make some money on the race, I'd probably back young Bluey a place. He's drawn well. He comes into barrier 1. I think he'll be leaders back. They'll probably walk, and he's very fast, young Bluey, and he's about $2.40 at the moment to run a place. So that would be my play. Greg, you've got Rock and Roll Hammer to be trained by Jess and to be driven by you. Don't know a lot about this guy. I think Luke McCarthy trained him previously. This would be his first start in your care?
Yeah, that's right. He's probably been here about maybe 6 weeks or so now, so not a hell of a long time. And he's been a very well-performed horse. Lightly raced. I think he's had under 30 lifetime starts, but earned over 200,000 and was a Redcliffe Derby winner a couple of seasons back. So he's competed at a high level right throughout his career. But this is a pretty tough assignment first up, especially with a back row draw. So he has settled in quite well, and we're quite happy with what the horse is doing. But obviously not going into the race thinking we're a winning chance under the conditions. But hopefully he's a horse of the future for us.
Yeah, for sure. Your thoughts on Republican Party, Greg? I've only looked at his recent replays. To me, looks like the longer the better type horse in terms of distance. What were your impressions on him over there in New Zealand?
Yeah, I couldn't help but be impressed with his most recent runs in New Zealand. He's probably a bit of a new kid on the block at that level of racing. And I think each time I saw him, I think I saw improvement in him. So, the Crandall-Getty team are no strangers to travelling over here, travelling good horses and with good success. So, he wouldn't be coming over here just to make up numbers. And like I said, from what I saw in New Zealand, he's a force to be reckoned with moving forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. Young Bluey the place for me. That'll be my bet in the KC Classic. Now, this last question, it's one of my worst efforts in the rhyming caper. I just ran out of ideas here. Chucky was awesome in the Hamilton Cup, but is he the one to get punters up? Rhyming cup and up's not very clever, but Bronte, you'd be very clever if you can make us some money here. Kiang Chucky's the favourite, I think 270 at last glance. Outside back row 13 isn't easy though. Which way would you be steering punters?
I have them on top. I have Queen Elida in for second, King's Guard in for third, and Love Me Too in for fourth. I think the value there could be with King's Guard. I have so much respect for so many horses in this race. Both of John Justice's are fantastic horses, and I know that there's just some bad barriers there for a few of them as well. And then you look at even a horse like Illawong Stardust, who's just getting better and better each start when she does everything right. So it is tricky, but I keep coming back to Kiang Chucky. All of the, you could say, really top level horses going into the Great Southern Star are almost all on the second line. So there's going to be some moves, and I think Kiang Chucky will get into the race at some point, but I do have him on top.
Yeah, I do as well. Similar numbers to you. Greg, you drive Illawong Lara J. I was talking to Darren Carroll on the radio before. He's basically put a line through the front row as a winning prospect. But what's the best case scenario for you? Can you get forward? Could you get to the pegs first? I don't know.
Yeah, potentially could take up a forward spot. I mean, we're very realistic going to this. She is outclassed and probably out of her depth, but her recent form, late in last year was quite good to get her to the rating that she is. But life's just got a bit tough for her now. So we're hoping that she just can hold her own and run a competitive race. But I don't think we'll trouble the scorer too much in this one, unfortunately. And it's quite an interesting race to sort of map and wouldn't like to be a punter really going into this race because the prep draw conditions have made a very, very competitive race with all the major fancies drawn the back row, which sometimes can be a good thing if the speed's on early, but probably not going to be a real hot tempo up front, not for very long anyway. So it all depends on what sort of tactics are in play from those fancied runners, and sometimes they can have a bit of cat and mouse going on and worry about each other and not worry about chasing down the leaders, and that can sort of make it for one of the less fancied runners that have get a good trip up near the front that could get really lucky. So a bit of pressure on those drivers out the back on those main chances as to when they put their horses into the race.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's that they're all the class runners are on the back row. To me, it's unlikely that they'll all run top four. Like there always tends to be one or something happens or one can't get into it. And I'm looking to a value runner. Like I'll tip Kiang Chucky on top, but Ebony's Avengers drawn barrier 2. If she doesn't gallop and puts her best foot forward, she's 150 to 1 and $21 a place. I mean, she could be one that got down to the pegs. She won a free-for-all fifth start to go from memory. She could run a really bold race, maybe not win, but she could grip on to run a place. But really interesting race. The Woodland Stud VL Dullard Trotters Cup at Group 3 level. Did Just Believe win that, Greg? You've probably forgotten. Probably has.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he won that once. I think he only won it once from memory, but not 100% sure on that. But yeah, he has got his name on the honour roll.
I think he's on everything. He's even on some pacing races. Well done there. That's the 4 questions. We need a best bet from all 3 of us. Bronte, I threw you under the bus a little bit. I didn't give you a lot of time to prepare, but you're good at finding winners. So could we have one, please, on Saturday night?
I like the last race, saving for the last race, and I'll stick with Aaron Dunn, prepared at Sweet Nicky Lou from barrier 6. I don't know how short she's going to be in the market, but I'm hoping we get some value with Sweet Bella and So What also in the race, but she's got the better barrier, I think, out of those. So if she can get a forward position, she's so tough. I think she'll be hard to beat.
Race 8, number 6, Sweet Nicky Lou. Really keen as well on her, Bronte. I did hear Aaron Dunn on the radio. Poured a little bit of cold water on her, and I don't know how aggressive he's going to be, but I think he should really have a dip. I think he could lead and go all the way. That's the last race on the card. Greg, don't know if you're going to tip Always Hot, but it's $1.30. You could do a bit better than that, couldn't you?
No, I haven't really gone through all the fields. Sorry, to be honest, to find a winner.
That's all right.
I sort of haven't had a lot of time for that. So I think he's clearly my best drive. But
Okay.
like you say, at that price, it probably doesn't help people much on the night. But I don't know if this goes to air before we go to racing tonight at Geelong. I think Craig Demler's mare, She Really Matters, was a really good winner last time around and is trying to get another good trip. So not sure what price she's gone up this morning, but I think she's a really good chance of going back to back. Yeah,
I think she's odds on, but she's definitely backable. I think it was $1.90 or something. Just one more at Geelong. If I am good, I'll get it up in time. Written in the Sky, I think's drawn to win. Hasn't been one I've been able to catch over the journey, but she's working into some form. I think she could win.
Yeah, I think so. Conditions suit her. She's a funny sort of horse. She has got a share of ability, but needs a lot of favours in her races. And put up a tremendous performance last time around, and she's drawn to do something similar tonight. So not a horse you can be overly confident with, but if she runs like she did last week, she should have a really good chance too.
Yeah, for sure. Really like Sweet Nicky Lou as well. Wish I didn't hear the radio interview with Aaron, but I'm going to go race 1, number 9, Storm Rider. looks clearly the class to me. Not going to get the front. Might have to do it tough outside in the cooler or come with one run, but we can get around $2. I think he'll be winning. He started deep odds on in the Hamilton Cup and has very good form prior to that. So race 1, number 9, Storm Rider for me. Those best bets, of course, are thanks to Sharp's Bakery in Birchip. Hey, Greg, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the ride over the last 2.5 years with Just Believe. It may be over on the racetrack, but thankfully we've got plenty of replays to enjoy.
Yeah, no worries at all, guys. It's been my pleasure to be a part of it.
Thanks, mate. Greg Sugar's there. And Bronte, thanks for jumping on at short notice.
Thanks for having me on, Tim. I always enjoy being on Burning Questions.
And good luck tomorrow night. Go well with the Queenslanders dominating there at Melton. That's been Burning Questions here on January 24. Tune into Bronte on Sky Racing, Sky Racing Active, and, of course, thetrots.com.au.